Racist cop attacks a black man in the airport, regrets instantly after he found out who he was. The heavy leather bag hit the inspection table with a resounding thud, echoing through the airport security checkpoint. Jason Miller, his piercing gaze unyielding, grabbed the zipper and yanked it open forcefully. The contents of the bag spilled out. A small book flipped open, revealing a family photo tucked inside. The picture slid onto the table, showcasing 2 children and a woman with a radiant smile, a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding before it. Jason picked up the photo, holding it aloft for everyone to see, a mocking sneer tugging at his lips. "Your family? Let's hope they're not expecting anything illegal from you." Ethan Brooks stood silently, his expression steady, though his clenched fists betrayed his effort to maintain composure. His breaths were deliberate, measured, as if fighting to restrain the anger simmering beneath the surface. "Officer," he began, his voice low but firm, resonating with quiet authority, "please refrain from handling my personal belongings in this manner. If an inspection is required, follow protocol." The surrounding crowd froze, their gazes flickering between indignation and trepidation, as though caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. Meanwhile, Jason's smirk deepened. He flipped through the book with deliberate disdain. "And who do you think you are, giving me orders? This story isn't just about injustice. It's about how we confront it and strive for change. If you believe in building a fairer world, hit the follow button and join us in spreading this message." The airport buzzed with chaos as the holiday weekend drew to a close. Families juggled luggage and clung to each other amid the din of announcements urging passengers to reach their gates. Business travelers briskly maneuvered with coffee cups and laptops in hand, while TSA officers watched the throngs with a blend of authority and tension. At one checkpoint stood Jason Miller, arms crossed as his hawk-like gaze scanned the crowd. Known for his temper and propensity for overstepping boundaries, Jason had been reprimanded several times for his conduct. Yet, in the packed terminal, he seemed in his element, eager to find someone to make an example of. A man stepped forward, his movements measured and deliberate. He placed his bag on the conveyor and began removing his shoes with calm precision. His stance exuded quiet confidence, though fatigue was evident in his eyes. Ethan Brooks, a former Marine, was on his way home to spend the holidays with his family. Disciplined and law-abiding by nature, Ethan was no stranger to high-pressure environments. "Out of line. Random check." Jason barked, pointing at Ethan as he passed through the metal detector. The harsh tone turned heads. Ethan stopped, his steady gaze meeting Jason's. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Routine check," Jason snapped, his voice laced with derision. "Unless you've got something to hide." "No problem," Ethan said evenly, stepping aside as instructed. Jason adjusted his belt with exaggerated theatrics, his eyes probing Ethan for any hint of resistance. "You seem nervous," he goaded. Ethan, unflinching, responded, "I'm not nervous, officer. I'd just like to get through this process quickly." Jason smirked, leaning closer. "That's what they all say." Grabbing Ethan's bag, Jason hurled it onto the inspection table, spilling its contents. A small book fell out, revealing a photo of Ethan's family, a smiling woman and 2 children. Jason snatched the photo, flipping it over with mock interest. "Your family?" he said with a sneer. "Hope they're not waiting on anything illegal from you." A murmur rippled through the nearby crowd, but no one spoke up. Ethan clenched his fists, inhaling deeply to steady himself. "Officer," he said firmly, "if you need to inspect my bag, do so. But do not touch my personal belongings without cause." Jason tossed the photo back carelessly, his smirk unwavering. "What's your angle, Marine? Bet you think you're above the rules, don't you?" The provocations escalated as Jason guided Ethan toward a secondary screening area. His tactics grew increasingly invasive, patting down Ethan repeatedly and dragging out the process. "Hands like that, bet they've seen their share of shady deals," Jason sneered. "How's it feel, soldier? Standing here under my orders?" Ethan remained stoic, his silence an affront to Jason's ego. "You think you're better than me, huh?" Jason muttered, his voice tinged with frustration. When Ethan moved to retrieve his belongings, Jason shoved him hard enough to make him stagger. "I didn't say you could leave." Turning back, Ethan locked eyes with Jason, his voice calm but cutting. "I've complied with every instruction. Don't overstep your bounds, officer." The words ignited Jason's fury. "Overstep my bounds? Who do you think you are to lecture me? Empty your pockets, now." Jason grabbed Ethan's wallet, spilling its contents. Cash, credit cards, and identification. Quite the haul for a former Marine. "Care to explain?" The murmurs among the crowd grew louder. A passenger stepped forward, her face set in defiance. "He's done nothing wrong. Officer, you're out of line." Jason spun around, his voice sharp and menacing. "You want to be next? Or should I add you to our watch list?" The hostile exchange thickened the tension in the room. A young woman discreetly recorded the encounter, her hands trembling as she held up her phone. Jason, now consumed by his anger, grabbed for Ethan's arm. But Ethan moved with fluid precision, sidestepping the officer's grasp. His Marine instincts kicked in, though his movements were controlled. He raised his hands, signaling no intent to escalate the situation. "I'm not resisting," Ethan said, his voice measured and firm. "But I will not allow you to treat me with disrespect." Standing tall, Ethan's eyes burned with a mix of restraint and determination. "I've followed every order, but you won't use your authority to bully me." Jason moved closer, his heavy breaths seemingly intent on overpowering. "Do you think you're superior to anyone? To me, you're just another name on the list that needs a closer inspection." The commotion drew the attention of a nearby supervisor, Linda Parker, who hurried over. "What is happening here?" Her sharp, cold voice cut through the tense atmosphere. "This man is not cooperating," Jason quickly accused, pointing towards Ethan. "That's not true," a passenger interjected, her voice clearly oppositional. "He has done everything you asked. It's this officer who's harassing him." Linda turned to Ethan, her eyes piercing. "Sir, is that correct?" Ethan nodded. "I followed all the instructions. This officer pushed me and accused me of not cooperating." Linda's sharp gaze shifted towards Jason. "Is that so?" Jason's confidence faltered. He acted suspiciously. He defended, his voice pleading. "I'm just doing my job." Linda stared at him, as if evaluating every word. Then she turned to Ethan. "Sir, do you have any identification with you?" Ethan pulled his wallet from his jacket pocket, retrieved a military ID card, and handed it to her. "I am a former Marine," he said, his voice calm yet authoritative. "I just want to go home to my family." Under the overhead lights, the card shimmered with the emblem of the United States Marine Corps. A murmur rippled through the crowd as they recognized the significance of the moment. Linda paled as she looked at the card, then looked up, her voice softer. "Thank you for your service, Mr. Brooks." Jason stood frozen, his mouth agape, the realization of his mistake crashing over him like a tidal wave. Linda's voice suddenly turned cold as she addressed Jason. "Officer Miller, step back immediately." Jason stammered, "I didn't know." "You weren't willing to find out." Linda's voice was as sharp as a knife. "You just embarrassed yourself in this entire department. Pack up and come to my office right now." Applause and cheers erupted from the crowd. Many passengers loudly supported. "Thank you for your service. You don't deserve to be treated like that." Linda turned back to Ethan, her face filled with regret. "Mr. Brooks, I sincerely apologize for this incident. I assure you it will be handled appropriately." Ethan nodded, still maintaining his composure. "Thank you. I greatly appreciate that." As things began to settle, Ethan gathered his belongings and walked towards the airplane gate. The crowd parted, many patting him on the back and offering words of encouragement. Videos of the incident quickly went viral, igniting a wave of outrage on social media. Hashtags like #JusticeForEthan and #MarineHeroHarassed flooded everywhere, receiving support from various societal sectors. The airport authorities subsequently issued an official apology, and Officer Jason Miller was suspended pending an investigation. In a television interview, Ethan maintained the same calm demeanor he had at the airport. "This isn't just about me," he said. "It's about how those in authority treat others, especially those they consider weaker. I was fortunate to have witnesses and the platform to speak out. Many others aren't as lucky." Ethan leveraged this attention to call for improved training programs for security and police personnel, emphasizing the elimination of racial discrimination and learning how to handle de-escalation situations. His message sparked a nationwide discussion on the necessity of systemic change. As for Jason, the incident marked the beginning of a long journey towards accountability, from losing his position to having to undergo mandatory emotional training courses. Meanwhile, Linda led a reform campaign at the airport, implementing comprehensive training programs for the security team. That afternoon, Ethan boarded his flight with his pride intact and a clear mission. As the plane took off, he looked out the window, not thinking about the injustice he had just endured, but about the opportunity to effect change. True strength, he thought to himself, doesn't come from power, but from the ability to inspire change in the face of adversity. If you were Ethan, how would you react to such injustice? Have you ever faced situations that required patience and courage? Share your stories and thoughts in the comment section. Your voice could be a powerful inspiration to others. If you found this story meaningful, please share it to spread the message of respect, equality, and professionalism. Together, we can create a better environment where everyone is treated fairly. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. These stories are compiled from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the purpose of promoting humanistic values in life and have been rewritten with the assistance of AI. If there are any inaccuracies, please overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.